effective. It doesn't. The teams that are perceived to be poor in baseball have been making money hand over fist. The Pittsburgh Pirates have been a doormat for 20 years in baseball. But Deadspin.com a year ago released documents, internal documents, that showed that they were profiting from revenue sharing money for years and years, making profits that were bigger than some of the big market teams that were supposedly, outspending them 2-to-1, 3-to-1. The Miami Marlins actually got taxpayers in Miami to finance a bill for a stadium, 3/4 of their new stadium. They're doing it through investment bonds, but they got public funding for 3/4 of their stadium after claiming for years that they were losing money. Turns out, guess what? Deadspin leaked the same documents showing that they were also making large amounts of money because they were profiting from revenue sharing in baseball. And now the SEC, Security Exchange Commission, is actually investigating the entire deal because they want to know how politicians down there gave these guys truckloads of basically free public money without even doing a basic investigation to see whether they in fact were losing money like they claimed. But they're not alone. This goes on all over the place. Baseball teams, the Houston Astros are coming in to join the Mariners division in a year from now, and they are just sitting on a gold mine of regional sports network money because they've formed their own regional sports network. And when you do that, you can hide money from the rest of baseball. Very quickly, the rule in baseball is your TV money has to be declared up front and then shared. A portion of that is used for revenue sharing in Major League Baseball with all the teams. When you own your own sports network, you can hide all the revenue that you're generating from it within that network, and you don't have to declare it to Major League Baseball. You have to declare a nominal amount. So let's say you're making $200 million a year on your television deal, but you own your own network. You tell the rest of Major League Baseball, I'm only making $45 million, that's how much my right fees are worth. And then you hide the other $155 million within your network, and you use that to basically spend your way up. And that's the reality of baseball. That's what every team is looking to capitalize on now in baseball. They're either partnering with regional sports networks as business partners, or they're getting a tremendous amount of money up front from those networks so that they don't form their own network. If you're running Root Sports right now, let's say here in Seattle, the scariest thing that you have going for you is that you know that Comcast Sports is out there looking to perhaps partner up with the Mariners and take away your television deal, because the going market rate right now is about double what the Mariners are making off a deal that just started for them this year. And that's already an increase over what they were making 3 years ago. In 4 years, 2015, the Mariners can renegotiate their TV deal with Root Sports, and they can opt out of it if they want to. So what that means is that in a couple of years, the Mariners could actually double their incoming revenues from TV. It can go from $45 million a year to about $90 million a year or more in revenues that they are taking in. Or they can do what I just said, go out and form their own sports network. Maybe, if rumors of a hockey team coming into town are true, you partner up with those teams, make your own network, hire people to put in the infrastructure, and make more money, hand over fist. The Mariners are sitting in a very good position financially right now, but you don't hear about this by and large, just like you don't hear about these other teams doing very, very well in baseball, because the fans and the bloggers that are controlling a lot of the discussion are preoccupied with Moneyball and preoccupied with being cost-effective and getting the best bang for their buck. And the reality is they don't have to get the best bang for their buck in baseball. The only teams that do are the ones that I just mentioned, the one from Moneyball, Oakland A's, and the one in Tampa Bay, the Rays. They're spending only $40 million. They have to play Moneyball because they don't have stadiums yet. Once they get their stadiums, both are lobbying very hard for stadiums right now. Once they get it, guarantee you what's going to happen is they're going to start spending money. But they're not going to be spending their own money. They could spend their own money right now. The owner of the Rays, Stuart Sternberg, is a Wall Street investment banker, and he's worth an estimated $800 million. Now, why is he paying only $40 million a year into his baseball payroll? Because he doesn't have public money coming in to help him pay more. Could he reach into his pocket and actually pay to give the Rays a payroll that looks like the rest of baseball? Sure he can, but these owners don't want to do it. They want to spend public money and nothing else. So when you look at the Mariners, their owners haven't put money in for over 10 years into the baseball team. Fans, bloggers look at the Mariners and they say, can they afford Prince Fielder, who's the big free agent on the market right now? A lot of them say, no, it's going to bankrupt the franchise if they spend more money, because they're not going to be cost effective. They don't have enough revenues coming in. Sure, they don't have enough revenues coming in. They don't have enough public money coming in, is what these fans are saying. Do they have money in their own pockets? Sure they do. Do they have money in the investment of the baseball team? Sure they do. The baseball team's worth $641 million now. They only put $200 million in, $221 million in to start. There's a big spread there. Could they finance to get money? Sure, they could borrow money. They could reach into their pockets and get more of their own money, but this isn't how baseball operates. And that's where this strange disconnect is coming from. And I'll wrap this up right now. The whole point of what I'm saying is you have this huge segment of baseball fans that are controlling the discussion right now who are actually arguing in favor of their owners not spending their own money. And it's a very strange dynamic, because if you were making this argument with Wall Street bankers right now and average people, and you would not have average people sitting in the streets saying, no, I want Wall Street bankers only to spend public money and none of their own money. You would actually have them trying to burn them down burn them down and chasing them around town with pitchforks. But in baseball, you have this huge segment of the fan base that's afraid that their team's owners will actually have to spend some of their own money. And it's a strange dynamic, and if you talk to these fans, they will never admit that they're actually doing this. They think they're being smart, intelligent fans, being cost-effective, when they argue that the Mariners should stay the course for 3 more years and not spend too much, because if they do, they might bankrupt the team somehow. I don't know how that's possible when your team is worth $641 million and you've only put $212 million in out of your own pocket, and the team has a cash surplus of excess operating capital of $20 million. It has a potential TV deal on the horizon that could get them another $45 million a year in revenue. I don't know how it's possible that signing one player could bankrupt the team, and neither do these fans that are making this argument. But because of the book Moneyball, because it's got everybody so focused on being cost-effective, cheap, basically, it's got it all focused on being cheap and having owners be cheap, they don't know how to deal with this new reality. And it's going to be very interesting to watch it play out. I know there's a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you right now, but this is basically at the heart of any discussion you're going to hear about the Seattle Mariners going forward. Should they sign Prince Fielder? Can they afford to sign Prince Fielder? Yes, they can. They can afford to sign 2 or 3 Prince Fielders right now. But they don't want people to know that, because as long as they don't spend their own money, as long as they don't lose money every year, the value of the franchise keeps going up, just like every other franchise in baseball. Keeps going up through public money, through publicly financed stadiums, and when these guys want to cash out, they just cash out, and there you go. They've made money on a hobby for them. Don't forget, this isn't their prime means of support. This is a hobby for most of these people. But they're not losing money. It's a win-win situation, and if it wasn't, you wouldn't see teams still existing in places like Pittsburgh, places like Cleveland, because they're all in it for the money. And just remember that as sports fans, or just as fans of business. It's something that you might want to look at. I appreciate your patience. If anybody has questions, or you want to know about the Mariners or anything, sure, go ahead. Hi.
I'm not a real sports fan, but I'm not anti-sports, just to preface. But I grew up in Los Angeles, and O'Malley, I remember when the Dodgers came out in '58, and they played over at USC in the little stadium, and there was like a short field, so you could get an easy home run on the, like thing, the left-handed, right-handed, whatever. But, so O'Malley finally got Dodger Stadium, which was private. So, can you explain to me why it is that the public has to subsidize all these people? I mean, I'm trying to follow what you're saying, but I don't understand, like, in times like this, why we as taxpayers, are help supporting, like a gentleman's sport.
That's a great question, and I have no idea why that exists. and I'll tell you what, I'm from Canada. I grew up in Montreal, and the Montreal Expos moved to Washington and are now the Washington Nationals. Why did they move? Because the public there would not build the team a new ballpark. They already had a $1 billion ballpark called Olympic Stadium, which was a disaster from the start, built in for the '76 Olympics. And they weren't going to build them another one, not for free, not for the Montreal Expos. And what they did was they moved the team to Washington, where they did cough up tax money, built them a new ballpark, and guess what? The Nationals are now the #1 favorite to go sign Prince Fielder, the top free agent in baseball. They gave $126 million last year to Jason Worth, a guy I covered when I was covering the Toronto Blue Jays. He was a good little outfielder. He's not $126 million, but whatever, they can afford it now. They can afford it because the public gave them all this money. Gave them a free cash cow stadium, and that's been the tradition in baseball. And as long as people don't ask questions, and as long as people don't